Coming to you from the Loading Ready Run orbiting underground moon base, it's the LRRcast.
LRRR.
Welcome everybody to the Loading Ready Run podcast. I'm Graham and Alex is here.
Hi.
And Beej is here.
Hi.
It's Beej.
That's unusual.
Yeah, I rarely drop in for these. I'm usually working.
Well, we usually record on Fridays,
Yeah.
and you have a day job.
It's true.
But today we're recording on Saturday for a variety of other extraneous reasons, so we figured that we would record with the three of us,
Well, thank you.
Aw,
and we
yes.
would do Cringe Stories Part 2.
I'm sorry, what?
You guys like sequels, huh?
Well, we figured, we were like, wow, we can actually get 2 episodes out of this, because I wasn't in the last one, Alex wasn't in the last one, Beej wasn't in the last one.
We didn't tell you what this was.
No, not until...
Well, you knew before we
You
started
can't
recording.
escape. The door's
Yeah.
locked.
We
but
told you about 20 minutes ago.
It's true, yeah. I haven't thought of anything, so
No, me neither.
it'll come to me.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got plenty in the backlog, but so
like, oh, no.
this is a new format that we're gonna be using for the Loading Ready Run podcast, because we've been doing the podcast mostly as Askler, just Q&A for it feels like a couple years now, and that's cool and all, and I'm sure we'll occasionally do a mailbag style episode, but we want to take it back to more of a sort of a discussion kind of podcast, and we asked for some suggestions on Twitter for discussion topics that we could have, and you had some really, really good ones, but we figured we'd do this one. And so, yeah, we actually talked about doing this as a change that we make to the podcast in 2015.
Oh.
And then we were like, well, why
wait?
Why wait? We don't have to wait. We can just do it whenever we want. It's our podcast, damn it. So we figured that we would
do what we
would do
want.
this.
Didn't have to
So-
run it by the censors at all.
Yeah. So if you haven't heard the first episode of Cringe Stories, it's last week's.
I've heard it's excruciating.
Or I guess the last. It's not that bad.
Wow, okay, well.
It's the last Loading Ready Run podcast, and it's Kathleen and Cam and Paul and James talking about, something that you did generally in school, I think, because that's when everyone judged you. That not only at the time were you maybe embarrassed about, but more importantly that you'll be walking down the street and you'll remember it and be like, oh, why did I do that? That was so stupid.
Just like must jump into traffic.
Yeah. Also, I should mention very quickly before we get into that main topic, Paul put up a blog post the other day talking about the podcasts in general. If you were already subscribed to the podcast, you'll notice that the name will have changed from the LRRcast to the aggregate feed, because that is now this is what we're using as the name for all the podcasts, because each podcast also has its own separate feed. So you can subscribe to just the LRRcast, just Tap Concede, just Corrector's Commentary, and just Temple of the Lava Bears. And if we add more podcasts in 2015, then they will get their own feeds as well. But everything will also be in the one feed. So if you just don't care, you want to listen to everything, the aggregate feed is there for you. But if you want to mix and match how you enjoy our stuff, then you are welcome to do so. We're just trying to give you options. So check that out on the blog. And send some feedback to Paul if you're having any problems. He has a link there for his email, and let us know what you think of that.
You're a podcasting network now.
Exactly. It's been actually. It said at the end of the video podcast.
Yeah.
It's been in quotation marks. It's the Loading Ready Run podcast network, and now it almost kind of is. So,
Yep.
Alex, you have notes.
Yeah, well,
you wanna-
you guys asked me about like embarrassing shit, and so I was like, oh, yeah, and then that one, and yeah, okay.
Well, you want to start us off?
Come with me on a journey back to elementary school.
Cleanse your
Oh
soul.
boy.
So, like, I'm gonna this one isn't too bad, although I'm sure it's gonna springboard us into other stuff. I was always a really weird kid,
No.
sort of thinking outside the box in terms of like practicality.
Okay.
On various things. So, our schoolyard thing that we used to do in elementary school was like acorn fights.
I beg your pardon?
Up in the upper corner of the school grounds at Margaret Jenkins Elementary was this place simply referred to as the Rocks, because there was a rocky outcropping jutting out of the ground,
Yeah,
which was the the most fun shit imaginable.
It's just some bedrock coming out of the grass.
It was just some bedrock sticking out
Yeah.
and like some tree cover and some bushes, and like there was like a little, like the bushes formed like a cave that you could go into.
And
it
more
was so
importantly, there's
sweet.
probably nothing else around it that's like this.
Yeah, not really. It was just like way up in the corner, and there's these big I want to say oak trees, because that's where acorns come from, right?
I think
Yep.
so, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a bunch
Typically.
of those, and around, I guess about this time of year, they would shed all their acorns, and it became a mad dash to collect as many acorns as possible, because like you'd stockpile them, and then you'd whip them at each other.
That's it?
Yeah,
Just whip acorns at one
just,
another?
Like whip acorns at each other. You know,
Okay.
it's like this was the '90s, right?
Right.
You know, before.
It was the 90s, of
Before
course.
Tamagotchi.
Before Tamagotchi. Actually, shit, that's another one. I'll get to that. So I mean, like,
Wow.
most kids would just like the most they would do is like bring a plastic bag to put them in, and you know, it's like, well, I was like, oh, well, this like I can probably innovate a little more. So I got a sheet of like cardboard, which I think it was like a dress insert or like a shirt insert.
Okay.
And I like stuck it in my shirt as like bulletproof armor. and I left it in there, you know, as like my battle gear. And like I was sitting in class, you know, with this, and the teacher is like doing whatever, and she just like wordlessly came over to me, like reached in my collar and pulled this whole thing out in front of everybody.
What? Why?
Because she noticed I had some dumb shit on under my clothes, and was just like, the fuck is this?
That's not okay.
Time to shame this child.
Wow.
I was just like, yeah, all right.
Did you even like this teacher?
No, she was awful.
Okay, well that
This was the teacher,
yeah.
and I keep feeling like I hallucinated this because it was so weird. Her name was, I think this was Miss Komar.
Okay.
This was the like archetypal I don't want to be here teacher. She was like a chain smoker, and like she was like the teacher from Calvin and Hobbes. Miss what's her face?
Oh, okay.
You know who I'm talking about.
Wormwood.
With Miss Wormwood.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like just, you know, counting the seconds to retirement. So she was like that. And I swear, this one time, this was one of the weirdest things I saw in school. She told a student to go get a glass of water for her, and she like brought it back.
Okay.
And so she had this glass of water, and I swear to fuck, she swept all the chalk dust from the gutter into the water and drank it. I was like, what? And I to this day, I don't know whether I actually saw that or if it was in a dream. And I'm not sure if I want to know. I was like, what?
That is deeply messed up.
No context. Just
Why
did this happen?
Would it be better if you dreamed that?
Maybe.
Because then it's a product of your mind.
Then that's just like, okay, that's just a weird thing that happened. But it's like, I really feel as though that was a thing I saw. But
Wow.
calcium,
I guess.
near as I can figure.
Is that sure.
Isn't chalk like come from places that also have cancerous materials too?
Well, presumably they clear out the cancer before
would
they
hope.
put it in
Children's
chalk
hands.
sticks.
Yeah.
yeah. That was
Oh.
always fun, like whacking the chalkboard erasers together to get like the smoke cloud.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you mentioned Tamagotchi.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys call your parents from school to feed your Tamagotchi?
I never had a
'Cause I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow. I never had one.
It was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, I know.
And
I never.
The worst part about it was remembering the
Has your-
genuine anxiety I was experiencing, thinking about my poor Tamagotchi starving to death
yeah.
at home.
How's your Tamagotchi doing these days?
Oh, it's long dead.
You monster.
Long dead.
I can't remember who it was. I saw someone like 8 months ago tweeting just in all caps, "Oh shit, my Tamagotchi." It was really funny. Oh my goodness, you're bringing back all these memories of
Yep.
stuff in elementary school.
Yes, Adam. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember something that I did. I remember something that like sort of happened to me that was really awful. That still makes me just like, just so cringy when I hear about it. It was in grade 5. With and Alex just scrambles to write down
shit.
something else. So my teacher in grade 5 was Mr. D.
Was that his full name, or are you initializing for?
Everyone
Give
called him
him the
Mr. D.
D.
His real
Okay.
name was Mr. DeRusso.
Okay.
I like he's not the bad guy in this story. He's a victim of circumstance, much like myself. But he was I believe he was former merchant marine or something. Like really like he's the guy where they would send like his grade 5 classes where they would send the shitty kids.
Oh, okay.
Because he would not take their guff, basically.
Right.
But other kids who were not shitty, I'm putting myself in that category, also ended up in the class because classes have to be a certain size.
Yeah, exactly.
There's only 2 grade 5 classes. This was a 5-6 split, I think it was. Anyway.
No.
So there was this guy. God, I don't know. I think his name was Aaron. I don't really care if he ever finds out about this, but he was a jerk, right? He was a bully and a wank, and no one liked him.
Yep.
And one day we were playing. The whole class was playing kickball.
Kickball. Yeah.
Or yeah,
Times are simpler then.
California kickball, as we called it.
What do you do?
If anyone's from
You kick a
California,
ball.
if anyone's from California, let us know if this is a thing that you play. Because we called it California kickball. It was baseball with a playground ball. You would
Is that maybe like
you
Brazil
would,
nuts?
Well, no, you would. It was exactly like baseball,
Right.
Except instead of a baseball and a bat, you would get one of the rubbery playground balls,
Yeah.
and you would roll it like a bowling ball to home plate, and then you would kick it.
Right.
I feel like I've played that.
You must have.
Yeah.
It was like, we can't give these kids a baseball; they might hurt themselves. So we'll do, or bats, God forbid.
Wah,
Yeah,
wah.
because they'll kill each other with them.
Yeah. So I'm
Monsters.
So I'm on the team that's up to bat. So we're behind the
Yeah, backstop.
the cage, right? And Aaron's being an idiot or something, and he I can't remember what it is. Like he walks over and he starts like making fun of people, and people are like, "Oh, go away, Aaron," whatever. And I'm like, I don't know why I said this, but I'm like, let's get him.
Just let's get them.
Well, everyone was like, everyone wanted him to leave, and we were behind the backstop, and I was like, let's go, and we all ran over, right? Like I was like,
with no intent.
I must have thought of myself like this was before Braveheart was released, but I must have seen myself as a William Wallace kind of
I guess
figure
so.
in that moment,
Yeah.
like leading the charge against our
Get
common
'em,
enemy.
boys.
And so we get over there, and someone knocks him to the ground.
Oh.
Yeah, and everyone's like surrounding him, and like
And you kicked him to death.
and we kicked him to death.
Jesus.
No, it's weird. Like no one is actually like it's not like we're actually hitting him. Like we're just like around him, and he's lying down.
Right.
And we're like pointing at him and yelling and whatever.
So this is like the bullying scene from like an 80s movie where they don't actually want to show physical violence.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
You're just like, ha ha. we're
Now
gonna
you're there and
be
you're like, I
around
don't really know what I
you.
can do.
Yeah, and
Fell
it makes us all sound like the assholes. But I mean, in context, he was the asshole. This was like revenge on the bullies,
Yeah.
presumably. Granted, it was wrong, but whatever.
No, but it's
We're-
righteous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I'll go with that. Anyway,
So-
so I'm standing at his feet. Right, he's lying down. I'm standing at his feet, and someone kicks the ball
Oh no.
at him, and it hits him directly in the top of the head,
Ooh.
right, and bounces off. And he's like, ah, and and he like reacts really badly because it presumably hurt.
Yeah.
So after lunch break, we all get dragged back into the thing, and Mr. DeRusso is pissed off. He's come back in from his lunchtime cigar. He's got his like breath mints gripped in his sweaty palm that he would hold breath mints in his palm, like just hold them there for like
Just like osmosis.
half an hour at a time. No, and then offer them to the kids.
Oh my God.
It's really weird.
It's super weird. Anyway, and he was, so he was just tearing a strip off of everybody. And myself, like Alex, in elementary school, I got picked on a lot, right? Like this was like I'm amazed people listened to me, but they disliked Aaron for being a bully more than they disliked me for being a nerd.
Right.
So when I was like, let's get him, they were like, yeah, all right, sure. But now that they're being that they're being dressed down, right. So they turn and they're like, well, Graham said, do this. And I'm like, well, Aaron was, and he's like, he said, do this. And I don't know. I probably tried to claim that I didn't or whatever, but
Right.
But then they said, and then he kicked a ball at his head.
That's not true.
Right? And I was like, no, I was standing at his feet and it hit him in the top of the head. And they're like, no, you're lying. And the whole class just said, you're lying.
Wow.
And I'm like, but I didn't. It's not. The reason it upset me so much is because I was like, in my head, I was like, no, guys, it's not physically possible. That's what bothered me the most. I was like, no, you don't understand. I was standing at his feet and it hit him in the top of the head. I couldn't have possibly done it. And
it's like 12 Angry Men.
Yeah. And it got so heated that Mr. D had to pull me into the cubby room, and be like, look, sometimes you just have to sack up and admit it. And I'm like, but I didn't. And he's like, kid, sometimes you just have to stop lying and admit that you did this. And I was like,
that sucks.
But I didn't, and I was never exonerated.
Oh, that's
harsh.
I know it was
because in most circumstances that would probably apply because kids lie through their teeth about everything, and then the one time they really
like I said, I'm sure that I was not honest about whether or not I said let's get him. I'm sure I was like, no, I didn't. Okay, maybe a little. I said something maybe, but
childhood sucks.
Yeah, God, it was
because at that point you'd probably be willing to say, okay, look, I will cop to everything else.
Yeah,
I said this, I did this, but for God's sakes, I did not. I could not.
I'm not going down for that, man.
Yeah, you want to be the most embarrassed and get the most gaslighted in your life. Be a kid.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the worst.
Oh fuck. How about you, Beej?
I probably have more. Beej, what's up?
Oh, I've got plenty.
The only first bully story that actually springs to mind, actually, in a way, is that there was this kid named Kevin who was at our school, and he was in our class, and he was probably a year older than everybody else, which also gave him great. This is elementary school, right? And so he nobody liked him because he was a big bully. And
sorry, what was his name?
Kevin.
Oh, I got a Kevin bully story as well.
I don't know what it is about, but
if your name is Kevin, I'm sorry, but
you're a bully.
We have bad experiences with people named Kevin. I'm sure you're a nice guy now, but maybe you were a jerk before. Maybe you, the Kevin listening to this, who are not a jerk, you are the ideal Kevin. But there are many other Kevins who are jerks.
I have a really good friend who's Kevin, who's really sweet and kind.
Actually, one of my wrestling friends is named Kevin. It's
exactly.
There are nice Kevins.
Yeah, but I'm never going to name it my
resting friend. I thought it was a euphemism for
my resting friend.
Passed on.
Yeah. No. I keep him in cryo sleep until I need to hang out with him.
Yeah, but I'm never going to name any of my kids Kevin.
Wrestling. My buddies I watch wrestling shows with. Continue.
So what happened is that I don't know how it came to this one day, but he was picking on other kids in class, and maybe it was including me too, only maybe a couple of us or whatever. And so I challenged him to a fight. And this is 5th grade or 4th grade.
Challenged him to a fight.
I challenged him to a fight.
Had you ever been in a fight?
I'd never been in a fight. I have an older brother.
Had you ever seen things solved through a fight?
Nope. Well, on TV.
Yeah. You understood that fighting was the course of action.
Yeah. At this point, it's if this is what it's going to take, because you do all the stuff you're told, where I'll ignore this kid, or I'll have some sort of withering response, which you never do, because he's just "Meh," and then he fucking punches you, and it's none of this ever helps. So it's just kind of so I'm do you really do you want to? Because it worked out where I don't even think I actually challenged him so much as he challenged me, but it came around that I challenged him. I don't know how it all worked out, but it did. And all of a sudden, for the rest of the day...
It was one of those, you'd said something and he was like, what? You want to fight? And then you were like, yeah, let's fight. That kind of thing?
Yeah, right. And it's
he brought it up, but you were like, yeah.
Yeah, and then you realize you're
I just challenged this guy to a fight.
And he's much bigger than me. But I'm okay,
that?
I'll be fine. I'm green stripe in Taekwondo. I know how to stand. I know how to... No, seriously, right?
Green stripe.
Do the stance. Hang on, wait.
Let me get yellow, orange, green?
It's white, then yellow, and then before you become a green belt, you get a green stripe. So you put a piece of green tape around your yellow to show that you're in the next level and you're able to actually go to the green belt after that.
Did you ever get higher than green stripe?
No, I stopped going to Taekwondo.
Okay.
So
Because
After
you
one-shotted
couldn't
this kid.
control the power.
yeah, it was because I didn't want to try to break a board. That was apparently the test. The rumor of the test was that you're going to have to break a board, and so I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be able to break a board, so I'll just quit Taekwondo. Why not?
Welp.
So, but what ended up happening was that I was the hero of the class for the entire goddamn day because it got around really fast.
So you challenged this guy to a fight.
Yeah, apparently I challenged this guy to a fight. And
Guys, Brendan's going to fight this guy.
yeah, that's the thing.
Brendan and Kevin are going to have a scrap.
We'll have a battle.
Actually, back then it was always BJ. So BJ and
All right.
Kevin are going to fight, and that's what's coming. And so it's like, okay. And so
You probably dropped that one in high school.
no, I didn't actually.
Really?
I was Beej for like a lot, and BJ to the teachers, and BJ, and everybody was fine with that. The whole blowjob thing was from pricks who would do that because they think they're getting my goat. And I got to a point where I was just like, I've heard this so often that I don't even find it particularly offensive. And
like,
even
yeah.
now, I get people who do that to me, like in my 30s, that they'll try to do that, and I'm like,
Hey, BJ. It's like, yeah, I do get a lot of head from your wife.
yeah, it's like, no, I've
Slash mom.
right blowjob. It's finally at the time in my life where I can be like, I have never heard that before. Sarcasm, and it's withering. Like back then, it was like it wasn't. People were just like, haha. But now it's like, oh, I'm really embarrassed that I actually just tried to make that joke to you. Oh my god.
I used to get called, like, I didn't have a good name for that. Right?
Yeah.
I had, like, people call me Graham Cracker. And I'm like,
Stupid
I'm like,
insult.
Yeah.
okay. Which is funny because my dad, he prepped me. He was like, well, I got my name made fun of in elementary school. People would, but they would make fun of his last name, right? They would call him like Stark Naked or Stark Raving Mad. But clearly, elementary school children were more sophisticated in my dad's day because they'd never heard those phrases when I was in elementary
right.
school.
Right. Exactly. So they would.
Yes.
So we
Starkers.
went.
And now
we had
it's a
this-
cool name. Whenever I check into a hotel, people are like, "Ooh, Mr. Stark," and I'm like, "Yes, that is the name of a couple pop culture people," and they're like, they're like, "Haha, Iron Man," and I'm like,
yes.
"Yep," or
Can I have my room now?
or Eddard,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Well, he, spoilers." He's like, "Well, he died." I'm like, "Yeah, but he was a king."
He was also not me.
Yeah, he leads a house.
Like someone actually, like a check-in person when I was going to Gen Con for Tabletop Deathmatch, we were actually having this debate. They were like, "Hey, Tony Stark," like, "Yeah, or Eddard, he was a king," and they're like, "Yeah, but he died," and I'm like,
So he was still a fucking king.
I'm like, okay, so I'm less cool because my fictional Sean Bean dad didn't last the season. Okay, sure, fine, we'll go back to Tony. I'm taller than him. Whatever. You were saying.
But yeah, the reason this is a cringe story is because I'm kind of like, oh my god, like
It isn't already that you accidentally challenged him to a fight?
because the worst thing is, of course, is that you have to go through with it because at this point you have to, right? Because you can't just try to, and there's no way.
Well, if you like run home, you're just effed for the rest of the year.
Exactly, yeah, and no one will ever forget that. They'll always know that they hate you, and they won't know why, but they'll always know that they hate you. So I went to the goalposts, and this is where it was going to be, and I had it was a 30 student class, and I had
I gotta
28
ask,
kids behind me.
Is this sweet? Is this where fights? Is the goalposts where fights happened, or did you just determine I'll meet you with the goalposts?
It was I don't know if that's where because the dumb thing is I don't think that's where they meant to happen, but that's kind of where they tended to happen because the goalposts were right across from it's in the back of the school, and the back of the school is just a big open like the blacktop where kids play like basketball and stuff, and then the goalposts are like just a step beyond that. So it's not like you're way in the corner, way away from teachers or anything. If there's a teacher walking down the hallway, you'll see outside there's 30 kids gathered, and one's beating the shit out of the other one. They're gonna know something's happening.
Yeah.
So this is not
something.
A great place to have a fight.
It could be anything.
And so what I decided to do is that I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out there, and everyone's like, yeah, all right, and they're like patting me on the back and they're pumping me up, and they're like, yeah, you're going to be great, and it's going to be awesome. I'm like, okay, because they're all really happy that someone is going to fight this kid because he has fought other kids before and no one has done well.
I was gonna because I was gonna say assuredly neither of you know how to actually fight, but apparently this guy's got a couple matches under his belt.
Yeah, he's willing to punch and hit and kick and do all the kind of things that you are going to do. Whereas
So the training took
professional
over. You
record
blacked
of-
out, and you just woke up with
4-0, 3 by TKO, 1 by judge decision.
And so my discipline, my training teaches you that, of course, you're not supposed to throw the first punch. If someone is going to fight you, then you wait until they throw a punch at you, and then you are free to respond.
Oh no!
This is what you're taught in doing Taekwondo as a child. And so he threw the first punch, and I dodged it. Because he was not really making a thing of it. But all he did is use that as an opportunity to come in and grab me around the head and the neck, and drag me onto the ground. And he had like 40 pounds on me. It was like fighting my brother. And he basically just sat on me and held my head and was squeezing me incredibly hard. And I kept trying to like throw a punch or do what he was behind me and everything. And like, this kid really did know how to disable whoever it was he wanted to do.
He's in MMA now.
He just immediately gets you in a rear naked choke, and you're like,
and that's it. And I'm done, and I'm like, I can't get out of this, and I'm trying to get out of this, and I'm not...
Anticlimax.
Yeah, I'm not tapping out. Like, and that's the thing. It was a really disappointing fight, but all these kids are standing around screaming and yelling, like, come on, and like, I can't do anything. No one's helping me, because why would you?
No.
And then the principal
need your,
comes...
best friend with the run-in exploder kit to his head.
But I can see... The principal now is running towards us from the school, and I'm like, oh, it's all over. And he got him off of me and walked us both into, this is after school, and walked us both into his office, and then dressed us both down and sent us both home. And it was like, and that was kind of it.
Well,
and when I think about that, I'm like, why did I do such a stupid thing? And yeah.
So my brother and I get along very well, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we always have.
Nice.
That having been said, there's been several instances where we've inadvertently had some problems. I think, judging by this short list that I have here, I think it was mostly like me ending up doing awful things to Raymond.
Okay.
Sometimes kind of by accident, mostly by accident. So we were at Pick-a-Flick, and he was in the car. And
To be clear, Pick-a-Flick is now the single remaining video rental store in Victoria.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why I remember where this was so distinctly.
Because of Yo Video from Commodore Hustle packed it up this past year. So just only Pick-a-Flick remains.
Yep. So he's in the car. I'm outside the car. We're horsing around, like making faces at each other. And he does the thing where he puts his like lips against the glass and blows, and like his mouth goes out. You know what that looks like?
Yeah.
And I'm like, boof, and I like bop the glass.
Oh no!
And he immediately goes, and I'm like, oh fuck,
He like covers his mouth.
because I chipped his tooth.
Oh wow!
I was like one of those situations where you're like, bop, fuck. You immediately know you fucked up. You're just like, oh, you idiot. So, like, I don't think it was bad. Like, it didn't ruin the smile or anything. But
Was it baby teeth still?
I hope so. I don't remember.
We'll have to
I don't
ask
think
him
it was
next
a trip
time he's
to the
around.
dentist, but that wasn't the first time that something like that had happened. It was
Wow.
like, I think earlier than that, we were on my grandpa's farm. Who he was the last person to get a scrap dealing license in Ontario, and he used to make his living that way. And so his yard is just like this minefield of like child hazards, and it was so fun to play around.
Just let them run around in the sharp, rusty metal.
We were screwing around with something, and like we were throwing mud balls at each other. And Raymond threw one, and it hit me in the stomach and winded me. And for some reason, this like triggered my berserker response. And I like grabbed the nearest thing to me, which was some sort of like rusted chunk of iron, and I would like chased after him with like the red mist. And like fortunately he like had a good pair of legs on him. He just like torqued it, and I ran out of steam before I caught up with him. And I was like, why the fuck did I do that?
Like, what was I going to do?
I was super mad for some reason. He was just like, zoom.
What was I going to do if I'd caught him?
I don't know.
Wow.
I'm glad I didn't find out.
Oh.
But the last thing,
I've had that happen about probably 3 times in my grade school life, where the I don't even know why, but someone like hurt me in some way, and then just like the mist.
Yeah, you just like you expend one of your rage charges for the day.
They're the like I can remember each of them pretty clearly, and they're the 3 times they're the 3 moments of my life I'm the least proud of, where I just went and just started like attacking another child. And afterwards I was like, that's not me. What the shit?
Yep.
And yeah, like I said, like I haven't done it since probably grade 8, but it's like, wow. Wow.
Very old reptilian response.
Didn't know I had that in me. But now I'm like super chill, so it's great.
It's like, oh man, that ain't me.
Although actually, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I did actually after that.
Excuse me.
Still in grade school after that, I did once solve something through violence.
Oh, did
All
you?
right.
Yeah, I think I've told this story before. There was this kid, his name was Brian. And he can get fucked if he cares. If he cares that I'm using his real
You heard
name
it here
too.
first. Fuck Brian.
I don't care if these people know that I use their real name. And he was the kind of guy who, it was insidious the way that he would make fun of you. Hey Beej, I like your shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I really like it.
Was he negging you?
Oh.
The red shirt, I dig it. It's really nice.
Oh my god, I hate that shit because
What? No, what's wrong? I'm saying I like it.
Yeah. Oh my
I like your shirt.
and then you turn around and say to the teachers like, this guy is like, I'm just telling him I like his shirt, and like,
God.
It's the worst. And he would. To be fair, my fashion sense in high school was like awful, but
Nice Star Trek shirt, idiot.
yeah. But yeah, that was the kind of guy he was. He was
Okay.
really, really good at it. And, as I'd always been taught and always believed, you can't solve anything through violence. And I always...
you did.
Except in the instances, the ones I talked about in elementary school where I like snapped those 3 times. But I was always trying to like find a good retort or just ignore him or whatever, and he never ever let up until I think it was grade 9 actually. Like it was pretty recent in terms of like high school. And we were outside his locker. I was walking past, and he was like, "Hey, Stark." He would always be like, "Hey, Stark." He would always refer to me like that.
Yeah.
And I just bopped him in the gut.
Nice.
I was just like, don't fucking talk to me again. And he never did.
Wow. Shit.
And I don't advocate this as a solution.
Oh dear.
But someone, I think someone else had told me that he'd done the same to them, and he's like, yeah, that guy kept making fun of me too, and then I punched him once, and he left me alone, and I was like, wow, maybe that just works with Brian. Fuck it, I'll try it. And I did, and it worked, and I'm not proud of it, but I do think it's kind of funny that it's
Yeah.
just like,
That is kind of-
once I solved a problem with violence.
Now
God.
he's just bitter and twisted inside.
I have not seen him since like grade 10. I don't know what he's up to these days.
I had in high school, actually, so now you reminded me of this. Actually, it was in junior high school. There was this kid that we just didn't. I was friends with him for like a year, but he was really getting on my nerves, and then what I noticed is that he was getting on a lot of other people's nerves as well. I was like, "Oh, it's very easy. Then we can cut this guy out. He's not." Were you
friends with him because you and he were both sort of like social outcasts from the class, and it just sort of worked out that way?
I think
because I had a quote friend like that who was a total asshole.
Oh, okay. Because I'm not sure if that was the case. I think because I'm kind of like I just want people to like me, and so when I found out that he
I want people to like me. I want to entertain people.
He seemed
That's my
pretty
thing.
easygoing and whatever. But then I would go to hang out at his house, and then I'd talk to him and stuff, and I'd just kind of be like, I just don't really like this kid, and I can't really tell him how to go away. Because how do you tell somebody not be your friend when you want to try to be friends with everybody? But
Right.
it just got on my nerves, and I noticed that everybody else is kind of picking on him. So then I just kind of iced him out, which I'm not proud of. But then again, I don't think I'd go back and change that. But then it got really weird because then it was like we were really trying to ice him out. We were trying to be very exclusionary and stuff. And so here's the thing I'm not very proud of is that we kind of kept on that for a while. And he was in band and we were in band, and so we were always going to see him in band. And then I'm trying to think of all the things that might have come before this, but the one thing that really hit home is that he was, we were kind of like razzing him just a little bit in class. and I don't think I was doing anything too terrible, but clearly he'd had enough. And he turned around and he punched me in the eye.
Ooh, punched you in the eye.
And I'm wearing glasses. So the lens pops out of my glasses.
Oh, shit.
And I'm kind of like
a monocle.
yeah, exactly. Just
Horrified.
and I'm just kind of like,
I say.
huh. And so he was just kind of like, and I'm like, fine. And he turns around. And I just lean because I'm sitting behind him and says, "That's it after class." and of course,
You're going down.
Class is over, and we go back to the lockers, and our locker area is like a big U. So there's like a wall at one end, and
I bet you didn't sound nearly as much like Batman as you think you just did.
No, exactly. That was essentially at that age, whatever the high. That's it after class. Like it's probably a little higher voice, but we cornered him near the lockers, and I was just kind of like, I'm like, you think you're really tough now? Is that it? Like you really want to you want to fight? Is that what's going to go on? Yeah,
Is this happening?
Is this how we're gonna solve it? And we're shoving him. And it's not. I'm saying we because it's me and a couple of my friends, and we're just kind of shoving him into lockers and stuff. We're being the bullies. But it kind of feels good because it's like you're used to being.
Of course, that's why people do it.
Right,
you know?
right. But it's like I'm normally the nerdy guy, but now I get to be the guy that's
like,
telling the other.
You're like, I get it.
Yeah, I get why people get off on this shit. Holy shit! Which is why I'm kind of not very proud of this.
Yeah.
And then what happened is after because like we're just gonna shove him into lockers and bit and be like, no, you have to respect the pecking order because we might be second below the rung, but you were on the last rung, and therefore
You are worse than I.
you have to remember this. It's fucking junior high and it's stupid. And so what happened though?
I'm not the worst.
Is one of the kids is like, oh, you know what I'll do is I'll hey, I'll grab you by the arms and I'll like fling you into him. And I'm like, okay, cool. And we'll like crash him into like the and so what happened was the dude didn't grab me by the arms. What he did is he got behind me and he started like running and pushing me. And I'm like, whoa, wait. And because I knew like this is going to do some serious damage. So stop. So I kind of like jumped to kind of get out of the way, like to kind of, move so I don't crash into this kid, except that I don't.
Tell me it's like a boss fight where he just went slamming into a locker.
He was already against a wall anyway.
Oh, okay.
And I jumped and I kneed him full force right in the kidney. Fucking dropped him.
Whoa.
And I was like, that was not supposed to happen, obviously. Holy shit. So I was in a lot of trouble.
Oh.
And the principal and everybody essentially comes down to, why don't the two of you just avoid each other? That was kind of, this is like, we're not going to do, you're not, whatever, you're in trouble, you're getting detention, whatever else, but the two of you are going to avoid each other from now on. Like, yeah, that's a great idea. And so we did. Except until high school when we didn't.
Right.
But that's
So it's just awful.
So
awful.
What's your guys' experience with fire and explosives?
That seems like it'd be a lot more fun than what the story I told.
Well, you say fun.
The Stacy brothers have a long, proud
they do.
history of fire and explosives.
Well, going from experiences with Raymond leads into a whole bunch of other things, but I'll start with the one that it's the hard lessons you learn the most vividly and the mistakes you will never make a second time.
Okay.
So we're in the backyard at our old house on Robertson Street, and we're melting candles, or no, it was crayons.
Okay.
In a tin can.
That's cool.
Because you melt crayons.
Why not? They melt.
Yeah.
Nice.
You put fire on them and they melt. It's totally rad.
I buy it, yeah.
You get to change something from a solid to a liquid back to a
that's really
solid.
cool.
That's super neat.
It's slightly dangerous.
It's chemistry, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it caught fire, and so we had a can with a little fire in it.
Like the wax inside the tin
the
can
wax
caught
inside
fire.
On some concrete.
Right.
There's a small fire that has happened.
That seems contained.
That seems contained.
Right.
I panic.
Okay.
And I start screaming at Raymond, demanding a glass of water to put it out. And he had a stutter at the time, and he was trying to stammer out the words, you don't put out a liquid fire with water. But he couldn't form the words. I was just like, no, give me water. Water, get water now. And so he immediately went and got a glass of water. And I poured it into the can, and there was a 6-foot column of fire that came out of it.
I thought you were going to say that you grabbed the hot can, but this is much worse.
No, it was just like, I was like, fuck. Like wax splattered everywhere. And
oh, boy.
yeah. He knew what was going on. He was the smart one and just like couldn't. I just steamrolled him.
He's just like,
As I was an idiot.
Alex is yelling at me. I can't think straight.
I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to smother this or like cut off the Oh, okay, fine. Water. Oh, oops. Wah, wah.
Were you guys okay?
Oh yeah, we were fine.
Just scared
But I was
shitless?
super rattled. I was like, I'm never doing that ever.
Did he
ever.
tell you afterwards? He was like, so
I
actually.
think I worked it out afterwards.
Yeah, I
Oh.
assume so.
So sorry.
What were the clues?
Fuck. We have so frequently accidentally burned our house down. I was like, and in that same area, like we had our friend. This was Rebecca's uncle.
Oh yeah.
Who has a shed full of old like science teacher supplies, including like magnesium ribbons and like potassium and like white phosphorus. And they were shooting a video where he had this like brick of phosphorus and they were like cutting pieces off with a knife and, you know, letting it go. And I don't know if you're familiar with the properties of phosphorus. It is so flammable that it ignites at room temperature. So it has to be stored underwater.
Right.
In a jar. And so they had this piece out and, you know, they were fucking around with it. And I think in the footage, the main chunk starts to smolder a little bit before he's like, oh, I guess we should probably put this out. It's like there was enough phosphorus there to like wipe out the house. I was like, oh shit, we should probably dunk this before it goes up.
Wow.
I mean, I say wipe out the house, probably enough to just like initiate a fire that would probably raise it to the ground.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I have had many other experiences with explosives. The one that's the most cringe-inducing was in high school. Actually, around this time of year, Halloween, I had at an antique shop sometime previous. I had gotten a little tiny replica cannon, which I think it was just supposed to be like a piece of bric-a-brac. It was like a mortar.
Was
So
I
it was
there
like-
for this?
I don't know. It was
I
like
might have been.
like a Civil War kind of era.
Yeah,
mortar,
just like a
where it's
little like
a wooden base,
desktop, like a
and
paperweight.
like a tiny little like iron muzzle.
Yeah.
You know, on a trunnion. And what I had done was I bored a fuse hole, and I packed it with like screecheroo powder,
Right.
and like a plasticine wad, and like just like the fuse that came with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like tested it in a friend's yard, and I was like, "Oh, this is super cool! You light it, it makes a really, really, really loud noise." And so
Which is the operable
So I have
conclusion. That's
I,
what
of
you
course,
want.
loaded it and brought it to school.
Oh no.
Never intending to fire it, just to be like, look at this cool thing I made. Mm-hmm. And I had it out, and like I put it, like I had set it on a bench. And I was like, look at this neat thing. And one of the Eller twins had come over. These guys terrorized me like all through high school. There was like these, I think they were twins, which is almost like contrived, but yeah, they were total assholes.
Okay.
One of them pulls out his cigarette lighter because of course he was smoking, and just lights the fuse. And I'm like, fuck. Now what do I do? And there's nothing I can do. So
Right.
like it burns down, goes off in front of the principal's office.
Oh shit.
So
Must have sounded like a
Everybody
bomb.
scatters.
Yeah.
and I think I took it, stuck it in my bag, sat down, and pretended to be having lunch. As the principal just come with me.
Did it? So it didn't
Not
work?
even a little bit. My
no.
plan to pretend that it hadn't happened was not successful.
Wow.
And the rest of the day was excruciating. And that was, I literally counted the steps on my way walking back home. Because they called ahead to my parents to say that this had happened. I was just like,
Oh no.
Your child brought a firearm to school.
I was always mad because it's like, I set that up, but it wasn't really me who had done it. Yeah, it was dumb.
Speaking of bringing a firearm to school,
Oh, Jesus.
no, I did not.
Oh, that's good.
But I did get into a debate. Air quotes debate in my CAP class, I think it was. That
What's
was
CAP?
Yeah,
Graham?
exactly. CAP.
Career and personal planning?
Yeah, CAPP, career
I can't
and
believe
personal
I
planning.
remember that shit.
It was the other stuff class, the life skills class.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid they tell you something about like taxes.
Oh my God.
Or like,
Why do they not teach you how to do your taxes in school? That's
or like
bullshit.
or like, why I don't know, like
How-
just like why like being careful with money is important. None of that.
being
It's
careful with
like
money or like basic political awareness.
no, none of that.
Any of that? No.
Anyway.
Okay.
So, for context, you can look up the because I know that many of you are younger than us. For context, you can look up the Columbine incident. It was a school shooting. It was kind of a big deal. Statistically, they're becoming more frequent in the U.S. school shootings, which is not exciting. But this was a big one, and it was really scary.
One of the first highest profile ones.
It was very high profile, and there was the whole bullshit about the trench coat mafia.
Oh my god,
and all that stuff, which affected you a little bit.
Yeah,
because you used to wear a big fedora and a trench coat.
May I have a brief aside about that?
Yes.
So following that, I had this weird...
That disappeared the next day.
Yeah.
I remember, because I didn't know you at the time, but I remember seeing you around school. I think we were in the same gym class.
But yeah, I used to wear
that trench coat was gone the next day.
After that happened. But I feel like sometime before this, something really weird happened. This random ass dude, I have no idea who the fuck he was, bends my ear after class and takes me to talk to him. And he explained very patiently that the Victoria Bloods were recruiting. And as I know, the Bloods hate the Trenchers, of which I am, of course, a member because I have a trench coat. And he said that, us as trenchers had to, stick together to resist the Victoria Bloods hating on us. And I was just taking this in, and I didn't know whether to shit or go blind. I was like, the fuck
I would like to provide
are you talking about?
I'd like to provide some illustrative context for our listeners at home about how comical the concept of the Victoria Bloods is.
We made fun about that later. We were like, oh yeah, the Victoria Bloods are two kids in red bandanas doing chalk art in an alley.
Victoria is by and large, there are bad neighborhoods, but Victoria is by and large a affluent middle class British expatriate founded town that does
not very exciting.
It does not have gang violence. We had someone got killed actually 3 years ago as a result of gang violence because he was visiting from Vancouver and they followed him.
Welp.
That's the extent of it. My sister told me once about someone that she'd heard of who said he was in the Victoria Crips, and my immediate response was, I'd like to see him meet a real Crip.
Where are you from? Canada? The fuck? Oh
my
wow.
God.
Straight out of Langford. That's a real funny joke if you're local.
Crazy motherfucker named Iced Coffee.
Crazy motherfucker named Iced Coffee. Wow. So I'm in cap class. And the Columbine shooting has happened. And the media, of course, is taking the tactic of, they played video games. They played violent video games. And the teacher, I feel like the teacher brought this up more as a discussion point than that he was necessarily pushing an agenda, but there were a lot of kids in class to whom playing video games was still a thing that, dweebs and nerds did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's back before it was cool.
Yeah, it was still not cool to be a nerd when I was in high school.
Yeah,
really not cool.
And I was like, no, that's bullshit. Playing violent video games doesn't make you violent, right? And consider the debating powers of high school children giving the example of, but I play violent video games is not a good idea.
No.
Because then they're just going to say, so you're saying that you'll shoot up the school?
What?
Because I said, no, I play violent video games.
That's
I play
some pretty good reductive reasoning.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, I play Resident Evil. Those are violent video games. And they're like, oh.
Fuck.
And I'm like, what? No.
Oh,
no.
God damn it.
It was, I can't,
is the worst.
that debate never went anywhere useful, clearly.
No.
Oh my God. We used to hang out a lot at a place that was at the time called The Back Porch.
Oh my God, The Back Porch.
Which
they
is
had the
now-
Sega Channel.
They had the Sega Channel.
Over 50 games a month.
So there was this little temporary building, which is still there, and it's now just called the teen center or whatever, that was called The Back Porch. And it was meant to be this place where people could hang out. It was because the high school is
like
right.
the kind of place to hang out and be cool where they can't serve liquor or do anything interesting.
Yeah, like it was like the school is right beside the Oak Bay Recreation Center.
Yeah.
And this was a I can't think of the right word. A
Lounge?
Trailer.
No. The an initiative of the recreation center.
Oh, okay. Oh, I
so
see.
it wasn't run by the school. It was run by the rec center because it was technically on their property.
Oh, okay.
And it was meant to be a place that was cool for kids to hang out so that they wouldn't get into shit.
Right.
Just
And
a
they
place
had-
for you to go. They had like a TV and couches.
Yeah, they had a
pool
TV and
table.
couches, and they had like some food that you could buy, and a Sega channel,
Yep.
and like an N64 and stuff like that.
I feel like that's the kind of place that you could go to play like Magic or something.
You probably could. We didn't
If you
because
didn't
no
want
one
to get the shit kicked out.
no
of you.
one no one played it. Well, see, so this is the thing. I met Jer in drama class, and then Bill was in my gym class, and then we started playing D&D together.
Is anybody here not a drama kid?
And then I would maybe
Get out.
Kind of.
I would hang out. You do improv. How are you not a drama kid?
I was a band kid in high school.
Close enough.
I was a band kid until I sucked at it. Then James and our friend Alan, who lives in Vancouver now and was in like maybe one or two early Loading Ready Run videos, but he moved out of town before that sort of started. At lunch times and then often after school, we would go to the back porch and hang out there. And then I remember after doing that for a couple days, one of my other friends who was like, he was my friend. We lived close by, but he was also like cooler than me.
Oh yeah.
Right. And like we were friends, but he had way cooler friends than I did.
Yeah.
Or that I was. And he was sort of like, I saw you going in the back porch the other day. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's where the losers hang out. And I was
Cold
like,
as ice.
dude, they have Sega Channel. But it was interesting because I after he said that, I went in there and noticed that there was like me and Bill and James and Alan and Morgan and all them, and we were all friends together and we hung out there together. And everyone else who was at the back porch, their only other friends were the other people at the back porch. They were actually like the massive social outcasts of our grades.
But they had a place to go.
But they had a place to go. And it's like
City planners.
really did not get along with those other kids. Like there was a kid nicknamed Lungs. Because he talked like this.
Holy fuck.
He was in grade 10 and this was his voice. I saw him most recently juggling fire downtown.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Shit.
amazing.
Like a Dick Tracy villain.
He was like
Get Lungs to rub him out.
he was like a 14-year-old chain smoker. I don't know.
Holy shit. That's astounding.
Yeah. But let me tell you, when GoldenEye came out, we basically didn't leave the back porch.
Yeah.
For months at a time because that was where everyone went to play GoldenEye, and sucked at it.
Yep.
I sucked at it. I was like, I want to play single player. I want to play the game, and everybody was like, No, we're all here. We're playing multiplayer.
Odd job slappers only.
No, turbo mode.
Oh, jeez.
Christ.
Have you?
Meow.
I looked at that recently, and I cannot fathom how we used to play that game because it was like 12 frames a second,
Yeah.
moving so fast. It's just like I can't control this. I don't know.
Well,
Anyway, once latter half of high school, we transitioned to just hanging out at Bill's place. Basically, like every Friday was like everyone goes to Bill's place and stays up way too late, eats terrible food until they're sick, stays overnight, obviously, and then goes home on Saturday.
nice.
And that was probably a better alternative to the back porch. But we did get to play sumo suits there one time. That was fun.
Cool.
That is cool. You ever have those times when you become trapped by circumstance?
Yes.
Although it's like slightly catastrophic.
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay.
this is still explosives related.
Oh, okay. All right.
My family used to go up to UVic, which is the university here, and we would build and fly model rockets.
Oh, sweet.
which are super fun. It's just like a cardboard tube and like a plastic nose cone. You can get these like solid fuel engines for a couple bucks each, and you put them on a rod and like electrically ignite them. They just go shh,
and they go up and then they
like
fire at the back and a
falls
parachute
back
deploys.
down.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
Yes, it's
and
sweet.
just like a little bit dangerous.
This is a little bit.
Which is why it's fun. So one day, we had this really weird one where instead of a parachute, it would actually like fly into pieces. It had like 3 segments for the body with the fins attached, and then the nose cone would go on top, and it would just break apart and tumble because they were all lightweight, and they would just like fall back to earth. And so we flew it a couple times, and it was great. And somebody got the great idea to assemble it upside down with the fins swept forward in like a delta pattern. And so they were getting this ready, and like I was like screwing around, noodling around, and I don't know how or why I did this, but I pulled my arms inside my jacket and was like, got somebody to tie it behind my back, and I was just like, wearing a stray jacket, and you know, just like running around. And so they fire it. It goes like up and then like targets to me. And I'm just like torquing it with no arms, just like, as this rocket comes after me. I feel like I did like a header into the dirt and it like missed me and like blew up and like spewed pieces everywhere.
The visual which is making this for
Just
me.
like,
Just like tiny child.
Yeah, the tears like shooting out of the corners of your eyes as you're like,
This kid with no arms just trying to get away.
oh, we had some good times up there.
Oh,
Like when my
God.
dad made the Widowmaker rocket.
Excuse me?
There's this fighter jet. I can't remember the actual designation, but it was nicknamed the Widowmaker because it killed all these test pilots.
I'll look it up.
And so yeah, he took the chassis off of like a plastic model and like sheared the wings off and used that as the nose cone. And I'm pretty sure it was the maiden flight. It went roof, boom. It's like bits everywhere. And there's one other one which I still have. He took a German V2, or not a V2, the Horton 229 like flying wing, and made that the nose cone, and had like this three body like 3 tube design, and did this sweet like dazzle camouflage.
Okay.
So it looked like a V2, and just like a V2, it burned on the pad and like fell over. It's like fire coming off.
The F-104 Starfighter.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. That's the Widowmaker.
We had good times up there.
Wait, that's that one that just has the little tiny wings, isn't it?
Oh, you gotta get up on the mic there.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, the Starfighter's the one that has the little tiny wings, isn't it? It's like just a long tube, little tiny wings. It's like there's no way that should fly, but it does.
It's gonna
Sort
go
of.
real fast.
Yeah.
It flies a bit.
Gonna go real quick. Oh man, that was the same place that I almost lost my hearing. Don't play with firecrackers.
I love that all of your stories are like, I did something stupid with explosives.
And I almost died.
And all of mine are like social caste systems
Yeah, well,
in high
I
school.
figured we'd get a diversity.
Yeah. I mean, another one that I had was there was a kid I was paired with for a science project
sweet.
on bats.
Bats.
And we'd been in the library studying. Our school was 2 buildings, and then there was a path between them, and when you would cross it, it was referred to as crossing. Hey, are you crossing after this class? It was like a whole thing.
Oh man, nobody's gonna do that anymore.
Yeah, because what they're doing is they're building a new school in between the 2 buildings, and then tearing down those 2 buildings and moving everything into the middle. But so we were going across the field, and it was after school, and there was a rugby game on, and the bleachers were on the opposite side of the path to the field. So to get from one building to the other, you had to walk between the people watching the rugby game and the game, right? Which is fine. And so we're starting to cross, and he's like, "Okay, cool. You keep going. I'll meet you over there." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You just keep walking straight, and I'm just taking a detour." And I'm like, "What? Where are you going? I'll walk with you." And he's like, "No. Just you keep going. You keep going." And he was directing me to keep walking so that he could take a detour and not be seen walking with me.
Oh my God.
That's cold. I thought he was like gonna pick up drugs or something.
No. The stupidest thing is he was not cooler than me. I was like, dude, I am not lowering your status. We are on an even keel,
Man,
motherfucker.
High school is the worst.
And so the I guess the punchline, I suppose, to this is I wrote this whole fucking project on bats because he didn't do shit.
Right.
Except what he did do was this was one of those things where it was you would present your thing on like a giant trifold piece of foam core.
Right.
Right.
Oh, I remember that stuff.
Right, like a science project, the kind that folds out. And so I wrote the whole thing and sourced the pictures and like drew a bat, like a diagram. It was like, here's everything, paste it to the thing, right?
Right.
And so he put it on the thing, and there was like the title card, and then all these individual pieces of paper, like up there. And he had signed every piece of paper. He was like, by Blurg Ferguson.
What a
by
piece
Blurg
of
Ferguson.
shit.
Every single one of them. My name was nowhere on it.
Holy shit.
And he had, and it's not like report on bats by
These
Blurg
two
Ferguson.
guys.
No, it's not like he'd put it on like the title, like by just him.
Okay.
It was the excessive degree to which he had signed every single scrap of paper that he had attached to this trifold foam core that made it like really stupid and like very sad. And I just went to the teacher and I was like, hey, so I wrote the whole thing. And I did the art too.
Oh, you
just so you know, his name is all over it. And it was me. And I had known this teacher from a previous year, and he was like, okay.
He didn't look at you like, oh, we know.
No. I mean, like, he was like, okay, I got you. Like he knew. Like he was like, okay, cool. Because that was the teacher that I did the Element song for.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, there was. I've told this story. This is a positive story. I've told this at Desert Bus a bunch of times. But they, my science teacher in grade 8, he played us the Tom Lehra's Table of the Elements song, where he sings the periodic table of the elements to the tune of Modern Major General. And he'd said it was like a standing challenge that if someone could memorize it and perform it for the class, and they would get an automatic A for the term.
Amazing.
Yeah.
There were 4 terms in the year, right? And so and I did, and I did it near the end of the 3rd term. So I waited until the 4th term started, did it, and he was like, well, no one's ever done that. I didn't expect anyone to do it, but I'm a man of my word, so you'll get an A. As it happens, I was a good student anyway.
You're getting that A anyway.
Yeah, so I just didn't do any homework, and I gave goofy answers on tests, and it worked out fine. But then they changed it to 20 bonus marks.
Yeah, that
after
makes
the
sense.
fact. Yeah. And others have done it since, but I ruined it for them. It's funny too, because actually his dad was also a science teacher who taught my dad at the same school.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I got to see if he has kids who are science teachers. got to sync
Exactly. Gotta
sync that up for my kids
Send
someday.
kids in at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a much more positive experience.
That is good.
I think we've touched on some cringeworthy stuff there
Yeah,
this week.
there's some good cringes.
It's amazing the amount of shit that comes back up, though.
Yeah, there is. There was some really really good suggestions on the Twitter for some other things to talk about. But if you have other things that you'd like us to talk about, they don't have to be explicitly stories from our childhood, but they can be, or just things that you want to hear us discussing. I can't think of anything offhand, but that's why we're asking you. Send a tweet to the @LoadingReadyRun Twitter account, or I guess leave a comment below, and we'll do that in a future LRRcast.
Oh shit.
And we'll try to make sure Alex doesn't blow himself up before that happens.
Yeah.
All right, Beej, let's go fight at the goalposts.
All right, sounds good.
Cool. Thanks for listening, everybody.